If you've watched any Death Stranding gameplay from the very first reveal to any of the teasers, you would absolutely be forgiven for thinking maybe one of the following things. 1. What on earth is going on? 2. Is this real? Or 3. Am I dreaming right now? I'd find it hard to believe that anyone has watched the gameplay and gone, yep, you know what, I know exactly what's going on here. Because the entire premise of the game is entirely bonkers, and yet when you read up on it and really try to understand what's going on, it's quite a compelling and interesting concept. So in the last couple of days we had a awesome new trailer with an incredible soundtrack, but what accompanied that was some real gameplay details. And I think Kojima has made something so different, original and just outright insane that it just has this aura around it that screams, I need to know what this is about and I want to play this game. Look at it. So we've just been treated to 8 minutes of gameplay, and it has given us so much info about not only the story of the game, but also a lot of the mechanics that we're going to be experiencing. First of all, let's get to the basics. Death Stranding is an open world adventure game and it's a PlayStation exclusive. It also has an incredible cast of actors and voice actors, including Lea Seydoux, Mads Mikkelsen, Guillermo del Toro, the main character played by Norman Reedus, and weirdly enough, Nicholas Winding Refn. He's the dude that made Drive. I don't know why he's there, but he is, and I like that movie, so I'm okay with that. And the game's creator, of course, is none other than Hideo Kojima, who, of course, was responsible for Metal Gear Solid, which fans will know also got pretty strange at times, but for me it's just one of my favourite video games ever. So, Death Stranding, something new. The story behind this game is this. In the near future, there are mysterious supernatural events called Death Stranding, which were set off by a series of also mysterious explosions and events that happened around the globe. Lots of mysteries. The world has changed, and you play as a guy called Sam Porter Bridges, otherwise known as Norman Reedus, and it's your job, as it always is, to save humanity from extinction because the landscape is no longer safe. And you work for a company called Bridges and the United Cities of America. Remember Bridges, because that's a popular topic, it comes up everywhere. You also happen to be part of the Corpse Disposal Team 6. How pleasant. So one of the things you notice straight away is just how incredible this game looks. The engine used here is called the Decima engine, which might not be that familiar to you, but you probably will have come across it without even realising. It previously powered games like Killzone, Until Dawn, and more recently Horizon Zero Dawn. Great game. And in 2016, Hideo Kojima actually went around to quite a few different game engine studios trying to source a good engine that he wanted to use for this game. He even went to DICE in Stockholm at one point, and so it's possible in another universe, one of the video game multiverses, this game could have been running on Frostbite. In the end, he teamed up with Guerrilla Games to use their engine. But remember the DICE and Frostbite link later on, because I think there are definitely some callbacks to Battlefield 1 and references in this game. Either way, visually the game looks incredible, and the detailed landscapes have a lot to do with it. Okay, so when you're wandering around the world, you've got plenty of issues to deal with. All sorts of problems. First of all, you will find plenty of unpassable obstacles in your way. And on top of that, there are supernatural elements around you that can not only kill you, but also alter the physical state of your surroundings. You'll notice in a lot of the footage that your character has a large backpack that he's carrying around, and you need to protect this as you travel. But not only do you have to deal with those supernatural beings, but also wild bandits will be a threat that have to be dealt with. When it comes to getting around the environment, well, the footage that we saw did a great job of showing us some of the tools at our disposal. First of all, we saw a gigantic portable ladder, and this can extend to a length of 10 meters, and you can use it to get up rock faces, climb steep slopes, or even cross rivers if you need to. We saw it used in the gameplay to good effect. And then we also saw the climbing anchor, and that's a pole that's driven into the ground to create an anchor point for a rope. And this will allow you to ascend or descend, say, a cliff, which is how Sam uses this in the gameplay. He pops down an anchor at the top of the cliff and uses it to climb down. And if he wanted to, he could use it to get back up as well. There's plenty of traversal options and choice here. And we saw this wicked sick motorbike quite a few times too, so it seems though Sam will have a couple of vehicles at his disposal to get around this game. It looks pretty badass too. And while the game may be called Death Stranding, death is not actually the end here. There is actually no traditional game over state in this game. If you do die, then you end up in the upside down realm. No, this isn't Stranger Things, but it is strange. And while there, you'll need to fight your way back to the living. But once you do, the world won't be quite the same as when you left it because of the unique way that Death Stranding works. When you die, you leave behind almost a crater. And depending on how many times you die, well, you could end up walking around with craters all over the place. It's a unique way to deal with a player dying. It means that every time you die, it has an impact. So instead of you pulling out of the game and having to just restart from a checkpoint or a black screen, the game uses a really unique loop to involve you dying in the actual story, and it molds it together into gameplay, so you're never really pulled out of the experience. I like that. What about weapons and combat? Well, Hideo Kojima has said that you don't always have to fight, there are ways to avoid this. So, of course, stealth is a big option here, and that's definitely one way that you could play this game. When Sam is attacked by some bandits, I'd call them, with what look like large tasers, he first chooses to try and run. Unsuccessfully, it looks a bit Benny Hill, until he finally decides to fight, which then shows off some of the melee combat that you can get into if you so choose. Good old-fashioned fisticuffs. Later in the gameplay, we also see the use of a couple of guns and assault rifles, so weapons are definitely a thing, but how widely used they are, we don't know. Another interesting thing about the footage we saw is that it seems to suggest time travel will be at least part of the game. It's hard to say exactly how this will work, and we already know that there are supernatural elements bringing worlds, more on Bridge Babies in a second version of Bridge Baby. In the gameplay, we got to see Lindsay Wagner's character, Amelie, who is supposedly the mysterious blonde woman in the dress, and then as Bridget, a sick president who's asking for Sam's help. Either the game is using flashbacks to explain some of the backstory, or maybe there's an element of reliving memories or time travel. The latter is strengthened more when we get to see Sam's character seemingly travel back to World War I and what looks like Ashenvale. And we can see him in the dark and gloomy trenches of a battle, walking alongside what appears to be a Mark V landship. That's those cool looking tanks. At this point, it's anyone's guess as to why or how we're there, but remember, I did say Hideo Kojima visited DICE back in early 2016 as he was searching for a game engine to use, so perhaps he saw what DICE were working on with BF1 and took some inspiration there, because it does look a lot like BF1. It's quite interesting to see a World War I scene looking like this when you know the context and that reference. It's pretty cool. The aesthetic just screams BF1 though. Now, as if all I've shared so far wasn't weird enough, here's where it starts to get really kooky. Something called BTs are referenced in the game, and they seem to be these shadowy demon-like creatures, perhaps from another universe or the underworld or another timeline. I don't know. The trailer does say at one point though, those bound to Hades, so perhaps that would explain it. After the mysterious supernatural events that were meant to have gone down here, these worlds have somehow merged. Now, on to weird babies. I know, this is a bit freaky because babies apparently play a huge part in the game, but we don't know exactly how. And these little scrappers are called Bridge Babies at one point, and it seems as though the babies are used to either warp time or perhaps reality, or as some form of protection. They seem to be able to bridge the gap between these two worlds. What's interesting is in the trailer we saw a character called Mama, and she appears to be doing something with one of these BTs, and at one point actually seems to be cradling one like a baby. Could this be where these babies come from? Is that why she's called Mama? Or guesswork at this point really. It seems as though the device that you see people using on their shoulders can detect BTs though, or at least when you're aware of their presence. Maybe if you've got a baby there, it works better. If not, to make matters even more confusing, the rain is also an integral part of the story, and it's called Timefall, which seems to have the ability to age people. And on top of that, you've got a separatist militant group called the Homo Demons that are going around towns, killing people and leaving craters. as if you don't have enough to deal with. Now, wrapping things up, there are some other really cool elements here, including asynchronous online gameplay. And this means that you can assist other players without ever actually crossing paths by sending supplies, hints and sharing save houses. I have to say that while the game does look and sound bonkers, it's got me really interested. We know that Kojima can tell a story, and this game looks like it's going to blend incredible visuals, open world adventure, intrigue, mystery, and just tie that all together with a cohesive story. If it can pull all of that off and have satisfying gameplay, then what's not to like? I'd like to pretend I know what's going on, but after reading up on the game, I think we're all in the same boat. Thankfully, we don't have long to wait though, because the game releases November 8th this year on PlayStation 4. And I'll be there on day one, for sure. And that's all for today, folks. Do let me know your thoughts on Death Stranding down in the comments below. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you